Welcome back to another episode of my devlog, Road to Making a VR Game. In this episode, I'm going to introduce the R&D project that I've got going on, which I've been working in for roughly 3/4 of a year now. And this is where I'm trying to learn like a wide range of actions and mechanics that I've never really used before. And I'm using a standalone version of Cyan Trigger. For those who don't know what Cyan Trigger is, it's a plugin that was made by Cyan Laser to allow world creators to create worlds using kind of like drop-down interface. It was an alternative to writing in C# or using node-based visual scripting. Let's take a look at the R&D project that I've been working on for quite a while. And this kind of Minecraft-looking environment that you're seeing here is what I call my workshop. I always like calling my experimental scenes a workshop because it kind of makes me feel like some mad scientist in his lab. So I always just call them workshops. I had one for like every other project I've worked in the past. This one's a lot more extensive though. There's a lot more going on in this one than past ones. Often they would just be like white Unity cubes with like the default skybox. This one I went a bit more colorful. So as a disclaimer, the visuals are not representative of anything that I am making. This is purely just for learning purposes. I can already handle a lot of visuals, so I don't need to spend R&D time on that. So for now, I'm just making everything out of like primitive Unity cubes and spheres where possible. As you can probably see from like checklists on some of these walls, I like to keep a track of all the things that I want to learn, what I have learned, so I'll just tick them off with like a green square next to them. Initially, this scene was focused on just making sure that I can do everything that I could from my previous worlds in this new standalone setting. This would be basic stuff like interactive buttons or enter triggers, calling animated parameters, all that kind of stuff, which luckily didn't take too long. I was probably within like a day or two, I'd kind of completed that checklist already. So it was already time to start jumping onto new things that I never really got a chance to do on my previous projects. As you've probably seen, I've got a lot of moving platforms. One of the things I want to get to grips with in terms of player movement options is being able to jump onto a moving platform and being dragged along with it. Luckily, this is something that's already being handled by Cyan Trigger, so this was very simple for me to do. This means that going forward, I'll be able to implement this way more easier now in my projects compared to anything I've done in the past. That was really nice. So when it came to trying out new things, the first group of actions that I really wanted to focus on was movement options. If you've played my previous works, movement is a big factor of those worlds. So I kind of want to keep that going with future projects, especially after using double jump in bullet time and also kind of in Jet Set because you could double jump off grind. I don't want to lose the double jump. I just think that's too precious to lose now. I'm just so used to double jumping in VR that it'd be odd if I took it away. I really wanted to focus on a few new things this time around. So one of them was a way to dash or dodge. This is something I've always kind of wanted to implement, but I just never got a chance to. So yeah, as you can see here, I'm experimenting with a dash system here. For now, it's only a forward-based dash. I just haven't got around to making a multi-directional one, but before this is ever usable in my actual game project, I will make it multi-directional. And it'll play like a big role in the combat design I want to go with, just allowing the player kind of maximum maneuverability. So just imagine like dodging inwards to like, attack an enemy and dodging back out to dodge attacks. It'll be so crucial for guiding the design of how enemies and bosses work. And even stuff like platforming. You've already got double jump, but just being able to dash on top of that, just to make sure you secure that jump. So I really like the idea of a dash system. Even though this is just the very early days, I was able to at least get this done really quick, so I was quite happy with that. And then the second one I wanted to try out was a jump pad. Think of like platformers, whether it be Mario or Sonic. Sonic especially with like the springboards, where you just jump onto and it launches in the air. I've seen some VR chat worlds do this, and obviously some gamers do this as well, and I've always wondered how I'd do that. Any project I had didn't really have a use for it, so I never got around to trying it. So yeah, this is something I really wanted to try and figure out how to do this, because it's a nice environmental interaction as well. It's pretty fun to figure it out, and the next step to this was to create a combo of jump pads. So as you jump into one, it'll kind of ricochet you through multiple, like you would in like Sonic games, for example. So I set that up, placed them in the correct positions, and it worked great, and it was fun to do in VR as well. And then a step beyond that, I wanted to try doing sort of mid-air boosters. So I created like a really square ring that you can jump through, and it would just boost your velocity up by a certain amount. You'll also notice this blue ring. This just stops everything, so it just stops you in place. So this is kind of like just a test to see if I could freeze the player momentum and keep them from falling. Got the jump pad, got the combo of jump pads, I've got the mid-air jump rings, and I've got also a freeze ring as well. They were all kind of like branching off from the original idea of just having a simple jump pad. One interesting problem I came across with this is combining the dash system with the launch pad. With the original setup, I would dash into a jump pad and it would cancel the jump pad's launch, so it would react really weird. So I've now combined both the dash system and the jump pad so they work together quite nicely now. The gold launch pad is the one that's dash friendly, so you can dash into it and it'll sort of cancel dash out and then launch you away. Just need to make the two systems communicate to each other, so that was an interesting bug that I'd found in my two original systems. Other things I did do in terms of like movement stuff is like teleportation, immobilizing the player. So let's say if you get stunned and then locking your player down so you can't move. Those stuff I already had in my previous world, so that's not too big of a problem. That was pretty easy to set up, but they are in this scene and they're fully working. I did make like a very basic grapple system, but I kind of want to go over that in a future episode where I talk about my journey through learning about the LERP process. I'll just focus on the kind of like more basic movement stuff. In terms of like the final game that I want to make, double jump, a dash with dodge system is going to be very important. One thing I didn't touch on with the dodge system is that one of the things I'll want to put in is invincibility frames. So when you use the dash system, you're invincible for like a couple of frames, which is going to be really important for combat. There's no point putting that in just yet because I don't have an actual battle system. A big part of why I want to focus so much on movement abilities is a lot of the VR games that I've played in sort of the past year or two, just kind of like researching what other developers are doing with combat. I don't necessarily agree with the design choices to kind of limit what the player can do when they've got their weapon in their hand. A lot of games seem to really slow you down, which usually results in almost like a mobile game feel where the enemies are usually just faster than you, or they're like up in your face and you can't really do anything about it. I want movement to just be the focus because I want the player to be in control of their space and positioning and not letting the enemy control where the player is. Because often when you've got these kind of games that don't give you enough movement options or they take away movement options, so like not being able to sprint or something, what usually happens with those kind of games is that you fall into the trap of constantly walking backwards while the enemy is like keeping up with you. I have these issues with like games like Oblivion and Skyrim as well. I've never been fond of that combat style because usually there's very little hit feedback, or they'll tank for your attacks and continue running at you, and you don't really have much abilities to get away from them. So it's almost like a chase that you're running backwards and they're just constantly running after you. I don't want that. I want both the enemies to be moving in all directions. I want the player to be able to move in all directions with abilities like double jump and dodge, and then incorporating that into the battle system itself. But I guess I'm getting a bit carried away with this topic right now because this is getting more into what I want with combat, and that's probably best saved for a future episode when I start showing off some of the combat stuff I've been working on. But yeah, this is a brief glimpse into my early kind of learning days last year. As you can see, this scene is like there's so much going on. I'm just going to keep building on this scene and adding systems into it. So it'll be like a massive playground eventually. This episode came out a lot quicker than what I normally plan to because it's the second episode to get going. I'll most likely try to stick to more of a monthly video update for future. Bullet Time Agent is coming to Steam and Meta Store later this year. Two of my close friends over at Sci-Fi Studios are handling the port to both pcvr and Quest. It'll also support desktop play as well. So yeah, please show some love and support by giving that game a wishlist on Steam. Link is in the description, and it'll help a lot with giving the game visibility as it gets close to launch.
Let us decide who is most worthy through battle.
I hope you'll stick around, and I'll do my best to continue making these. See you next time.